You're watching a segment of The Splash, Greater West Bloomfield's news magazine show.
I'm joined this week by Brian Peterson, founder of Bees in the D. Thank you, Brian, for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you. So you're a beekeeper.
Yes.
And you started this passion 11 years ago. You said you actually went on a retreat. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Women's Garden Club of Rochester, I actually am a teacher in Rochester. I teach 5th grade at Musson Elementary. The Women's Garden Club wanted to send a teacher up to Beaver Island, which is up in Lake Michigan, to take a 2-week crash course through Oakland University on beekeeping. And I was lucky enough to get chosen and went up there and learned all about the bees. I joke that I caught the bug and have been beekeeping since.
Yeah. So this was 11 years ago. You did that, and then that created a network for you to start teaching at Oakland University, right?
Correct. So it opened up a lot of really amazing doors for me, including being an adjunct professor at Oakland University.
Yeah. So that happened 11 years ago, and now 4 years ago you started Bees in the D, which is your main thing that you do now with bees, obviously your nonprofit organization. So tell us how you went from going on the retreat 11 years ago and then 7 years later starting Bees in the D.
Wonderful.
How did that?
So the bees were 11 years ago. I was kind of in a different place in my life, and they were kind of there for me. And it was, I described it as my yoga. I'd go in the hives, it would calm me down. It's awe-inspiring to be a part of an incredible world like that. And so when I moved to the city with my now husband, I wanted to give back to the bees because I was reading all these articles about colony collapse disorder and how the bees' numbers are declining, not just honeybees, but native bees. And so I said, I want to start a nonprofit to help with the conservation and to help educate people about the importance of pollinators. Yeah. And so we started the nonprofit.
Yeah. And so you were telling me the name Bees in the D actually came from you and your husband. Tell us about that.
Yeah, our friends love coming down to see us because Detroit's a great place to come to. And it's nicknamed the D, as you know. Yeah. And we were nicknamed B1 and B2, and so we were nicknamed the Bees.
Yeah, because you're both Brian.
Right, we both have the same name. And so our friends would say we're going to go down and see the Bees in the D. And so when we were thinking of a name for our nonprofit, I think it was pretty much right there in front of us.
Yeah. So you were saying you do more of the upfront stuff and he does the behind-the-scenes stuff. So tell me about your position specifically and what you do on a daily basis.
So I'm more of the face of Bees in the D. I'm here on camera. I do radio interviews, do a lot of the education because I'm a teacher. That's what I love to do. Brian, B2, he sets the stage for me. It's fantastic. He will get everything organized. He'll work on the contracts with all of our different partners. He will make arrangements for things so that I can shine and share about the bees.
Oh, yeah. So you said your main goal with Bees in the D is education and conservation, and I know you said you're working on building, or you have the plans to build a conservation center in Detroit. So tell me about that goal and what the plans are.
You know, we never expected our nonprofit to take off like this and to be accepted and received so well. And so we describe that we don't just live in Detroit, we're part of Detroit now. And it has put us in contact with amazing people. And one of the companies that stepped up and heard what we were doing is Studio Detroit. And they are an incredible architecture firm that they have some of the coolest plans and have brought forth some of the neatest buildings and architecture in Detroit. And they just love what we're doing, and they designed for us an educational center using shipping containers, upcycling them to have an education center where we can bring people to do our honey harvest or do some of our classes. And so we have the plans for it now, and now we're working with the city and finding the spot for it, and we're going to start our fundraising to help fund it.
That's awesome, because you said you have a whole board of people, but everyone's a volunteer.
Yeah, we have 10 people on our board, and they all have their incredible skill sets. Some of them are help with social media, some of them are event planners, and we're all volunteer. Everything goes back to the bees and the organization.
Mm-hmm. So you sell honey. That's one thing you said, going back to the bees and the organization.
Yeah, one of the benefits of being a beekeeper is the bees do make excess honey, and so we can take that honey and we do jar it up and we do sell it, and then that money can go back towards the organization as well. We're not really in the bee or the honey business, but it helps fund.
Yeah.
So we do have that for sale at the Foundation Hotel, where we have beehives up on their roof. And then we do a lot of fun events, including public honey harvest, where usually we sell out of the honey right there at the event because you don't get fresher than that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're literally taking it out of the combs and jarring it up and taking it home.
Crazy. So you were telling me the difference between you and other harvesters with your honey, you were saying is that, I know you gave the example of when you go to a bar and you get different flights. Can you touch on that a little bit?
We, what's fun about our organization is we have so many different sites all over Southeast Michigan, 52 different locations. And honey is very unique. It's a lot like wine, where it takes on different flavors depending on the year, the time of the year, where they're getting their resources or their nectar from. And so every harvest we do separately, and every harvest has a different flavor. We don't mix those. A lot of the commercial beekeepers, because, I mean, they're dealing with bulk honey, they mix it all together. So we keep it separate, and then we get to partner up with a few different organizations like Blake's up in Armada, or Bee Nectar, which is in Ferndale, and they'll do a flight of meads or a flight of hard ciders, and then we do a flight of honey. Yeah. So you can taste the different honey flavors.
That's awesome. So in just 4 years, you've gone from 6 hives to 160 hives in 52 different locations. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind of growth, but really fun, and we've gotten to work with some of the most incredible people.
I'm sure. So of those 52 locations, you actually have one right here in West Bloomfield that you were recently having an event at. Tell us about that.
Yesterday, actually, we had a Hive Adventure event. We had 2 different waves of it. The first one was with parent and child. So we have bee suits. Fardman group donated children's bee suits to us. And then we got an anonymous donor for all adult suits. And so now that allows us to take people into the hives to experience that incredible world of bees. And we did it just over at Shulac Farms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was with West Bloomfield Parks, and you said Henry Ford.
Yes, Henry Ford helped fund it. And then actually with Henry Ford coming up, we have a cooking event where they're going to use our honey at their kitchen there at the hospital and share about how you can use honey in recipes.
That's great. So in all of this, you said you're trying to create the bee highway, you called it.
Yeah.
Explain what the bee highway
So it doesn't literally mean that they have to be right along the highway, although we do have hives right along 75 or along the highway. It's more a highway for the bees, meaning that the bees have a place to stop for one of 3 essential things. All living things need shelter, and that's where Bees in the D comes in. A lot of times we provide that shelter in the form of hives. Although we also do workshops which train other people to become beekeepers, and then they can provide shelter. All living things need water, and so we're encouraging people to put bowls of water out with maybe rocks in it so that the bees can land comfortably and get a drink. And of course, food. We all need food, and that's an easy one for bees. All you have to do is plant some beautiful flowers in your yard, and not only have you beautified your yard, but you're also providing food for pollinators.
Of course, because pollinators, you said, they provide food for us. You told me 1 in every 3 bites of food that we take.
Yeah, that's what scientists are saying. And if you really think about it, it does make sense. I mean, all of our fruit, most of our fruits and vegetables have to be cross-pollinated by pollinators. And so we wouldn't have apples, and we wouldn't have blueberries, and we wouldn't have melons if we didn't have them. Almonds, which is one of my favorites. But also, we don't think about the fact that they pollinate food that other animals eat. Right. So like alfalfa, that our cattle eat. And so they really are important to our ecosystem, but also our food industry.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I thought was super interesting, I feel like most people don't know, is that you said bees were recently declared as the most important creature on the planet.
Yeah, a few scientists have now said, or groups have come out, and there has been some articles and a little bit of a buzz about how honeybees are the most important animal on this planet.
Crazy.
I mean, obviously there's a little bit of opinion in that, and I of course agree with that. But they are very crucial to a lot in our ecosystem.
Yeah, that's super interesting to hear so much about bees I wouldn't have known. I think it's really the importance of bees and creatures like this people just don't appreciate enough. So yeah, thank you so much for being here with us and talking about bees and your passion. And then you said that you do on social media, actually, every Friday you have a segment that you do?
Yeah, so we love to share a little bit of knowledge here and there about bees and plants on social media, of course, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So every Friday I do what's called Forager Friday, and I profile one of the plants that grows here in Michigan and how it relates with pollinators. But then we also do bee facts sporadically as well. And then, of course, I do a lot of educational events at libraries and schools and in different locations.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian, so much for being here today and sharing with us your passion about bees and all you do for our community in Detroit.
Thank you for having me and letting me share about the important honeybee.
Once again, we've been joined by Brian Peterson, founder of Bees in the D.
Thanks for watching a segment of The Splash. To catch the entire show or other segments, watch us on Comcast Channel 15 or AT&T Channel 99, or look us up online at thesplash.tv and listen to us on WBLD 89.3, the all-new Lakes FM.